Hi everybody. We're going to do martial chat again. It is a very cold day here in Texas, and I know some people are going to laugh about that. You know, where I'm originally from, in Wyoming, it's like negative 30 some, or I don't know, it's some like ridiculous thing. And it's 13 degrees here with snow in Texas, but that is highly unusual for Texas, and it is stinking cold. So if you hear a fan noise, it's my heater that's on me right now because I'm so cold right now. Okay, now I got some great comments and stuff from some people on Facebook and on the YouTube account too. So I really appreciate those questions because this is what's going to help propel me a little bit further to help get into things that perhaps other people want to know about or just talk about. And that's the whole design of this whole thing. One thing I've noticed too is I've looked at other like martial arts talk shows or whatever, and there's some people that, you know, what I want is if people come on here and they're not like fully invested in martial arts, but they like martial arts and they just want to talk about certain things of martial arts or just aspects that they know about, you know, and you can bring it across with, you know, you can actually bring it across without making them confused. There's so many times I listen to these guys, they start spouting off all this jargon, all this martial arts jargon. It's all Japanese, it's all Chinese, or it's all this. And the reason why they use those terms is because there's there's a deeper reasoning, there's like deeper meaning behind those terms in the native language. To us, it's like a mere thing. Oh, it just means harmony, but that's not the exact thing that means. Like there's a lot more meaning behind what they're saying, and I understand that, you know, it's because also these guys have been doing it for years, and so saying this is like it's just easy, you know. And as a Christian guy, I usually tell people, and I got up and I spoke about this before around other people in my congregation, and I've told them, I said, you can't speak what they call Christianese. You start spouting things off that other people who have never read their Bible, people who don't know, or have ever been to church, they're going to get confused because that's what I was. People would say things and I would be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, I was not a godly man before. I was never a believer in anything. And so it was weird when I was just trying to, you know, get myself to understand it. I'm learning things. I'm learning things. I don't know everything. When you start spouting things off, and that's how it is in martial arts world. We just have this like little Martialese type of language where we start going, oh, the no shonen kana, oh, the shono blah blah blah, and it's just blah blah this, blah blah blah. Eventually, you just got to realize, you know, call the technique what it is. Okay, I get it. If you're from Japan and that's what you call it, then okay, we need to understand the instruction from the Japanese teacher telling us that. Okay, come on, dude. Say throw. Say hip throw. Not the ogashiwaza, or whatever it is. You know, just, I don't need all the specific terminology. It really isn't necessary to show someone how to lift their hands, how to extend their hand, and clench their fist. If you're not using anything that they understand, they're going to lose it. Plain and simple. That was a rant that had nothing to do with any of the questions I was asked. It's just but what it comes down to is I've been watching these things and they get into that kind of garbage, and it's kind of like, to me, you've lost me already. 3 minutes in, you've lost me. I'm done. I don't even want to talk about martial arts with you because I know now you're just going to give me a bunch of nonsense to make it sound really good, but it doesn't mean you actually know anything about it. So cut through the crap, get through it, and let's talk about it and not just say, well, this, that, and the other. And then there's a lot of names of martial arts that some martial artists know. We know some martial arts. Some of us know ones that are like a lot of people don't know. And you're just kind of going, oh yeah. Other people go, he's on your. What do I care if he's on your show for? Who's that guy? Why do I want to hear what he has to say? Because there's people out there that have no idea. You've got to appeal to more people than just martial artists. Because if you do, you're going to have like this little teeny tiny group, and that's all you're going to ever appeal to. And I want to appeal to everybody that's out there that watches UFC, that they have, they don't train martial arts, but they watch UFC. I want to talk to people out there who casually do martial arts. They take their kids to Taekwondo, so maybe they want to know a few different things just to kind of see if their kids are in the right space. Maybe there's women out there who just want to learn self-defense, and there's something about the martial arts world that they want to know more about. That's what I want to get into. Or maybe there's people out there who are just through with all the BS stuff that's out there, and they just want to talk about the realities and truth of martial arts, of what it was made for, what it's becoming, and and maybe some future events, maybe even martial art movies. And I'm going to talk about that stuff later on too. So I'm not going to encompass this just to one type of thing. Now, this is all going to be about all martial arts because that's what the focus of my channel is. But other than that, I'm not going to be like trying to get into fancy things here and there. But I probably might shake some cages. I might even get some people offended by me. But I'm not trying to purposely offend you. And if you're offended, I'm sorry. But at the same time, you got two things to do. You can either challenge me on it, which is fine. I don't mind. I'll step up to it. If I have to research it, let me research it. I like learning. Or get over it. Okay. I haven't had that yet happen. I'm just saying that it's possible that it's going to happen. Okay, now on to the actual questions I've got, some comments and some topics that people want to ask. And the reason why I'm going to use all of these topics today is because that way I can narrow it down and I don't have to ramble on or try to find something else about it. The fact is, because I've already done that. So I got Eric Harris, who's Ninja XTX. He's a great guy. He has his channel on here. I'm actually going to leave his link down below. He was talking about wheelchair-bound martial arts. And what I think about that, Eric, is honestly, I believe that there has to be, you have to really learn and understand that portion of it. Like, I think I would send people to your channel, and there's other channels out there of other people that do have wheelchair-bound martial arts tips and self-defense training drills and stuff like that, and I would send them to those video-wise. If I was teaching it, I would really have to understand completely the limitations of what this person can and cannot do. I think you would agree that there's sometimes it's not just, there's certain motions that they cannot do, and it's more of, okay, well, if you cannot do that, how can I supplement that? That's where a lot of things come into play. But I think it also comes into the things with instructors. There's instructors out there who think they could do it. They have no idea. They have no clue. And they're not willing to research anything online. They're not willing to go on and actually look up things to say, okay, well, maybe I need to learn this. And they're not willing to go and check medical manuals and look and see, okay, well, he has this stage of paralysis. Maybe I need to know. Maybe he's paralyzed from the waist down only. Well, maybe I can figure out how the spine works from this point on. No one's willing to talk to physical therapists and people like that who work with these people day in and day out to help them and show them how to strengthen them, how to get them, motivated and the things that they need to learn, not just for martial arts sakes, but what it takes for them to be able to learn certain aspects of the martial art techniques that you're going to be showing them. And I think that's where you're excelling, Eric. I believe that you are striving and you are conquering and something that some people would just allow to defeat them. And I commend you for that. I applaud you for that because you inspire me to look deeper into that kind of stuff. You did. And I looked at it and I went in and that's what I'm talking about. I talked to physical therapists. I've looked at medical manuals. I've done that kind of stuff. And the reason why I did it was because I wanted to answer questions for you at the time, and I was also because I always thought, well, if I ever had a kid come in, I don't want to turn anyone away. That's my biggest thing. I don't want to turn them away just because. Frank Dukes, he had back in the 80s, he was on That's Incredible, and it was because he helped a guy in a wheelchair. But now he's helped another young man, Justin Ray Harvey, who he strives, and he's doing the thing, man. He gets into full, believe it or not, guys, I mean, people can fault me for this, there is a full contact competition for people that are wheelchair bound, but they get them in a ring and they fight. They get in and they do the best they can. And there's no way that's easy. No way that's easy. And I commend them for wanting to not allow something to stop them from being the person they wanted to be. You know how many people do that though? They'll lay down and just let people do that. That's so I commend people like Justin Ray, and I'm going to put his link up too for his channel, and Eric's. And the reason why is because they strive. They're not letting it beat them. They're gonna they're excelling. They're moving forward, and I think that's a big part of it. You need to understand exercises and stuff that they need for their joints, their muscles, for their legs, and how much can you push a little bit here, a little bit there. And that's why talking to people that work with them, studying things, and studying certain arts, even in the martial arts, that help, which is, basically why acupuncture and acupressure, why this is very good for them, and why you can do certain things for them, because it activates the muscles in general, not just helps the muscle or heal or assists it. It actually activates the muscle so it can start building again and start getting itself out of the atrophy. And that's important. So when you need to understand those things. But there's a lot of people out there that are just not going to do it, and they're not capable to teach. Because I don't think it just stops at wheelchair bound. I think you need to look at people that might be hearing impaired. They might be they might be visually impaired. So I mean, these are things that can happen. I mean, what do you do with people that are, have Downs or not, maybe, or whatever? I mean, can you teach them? It's much more difficult, believe it or not. And I know this because I have taught this way and taught people with certain impairments. It's more difficult. Yes, you need to be patient, but you have to be a good teacher to do this, in my opinion. And even I had limits that I knew I was going to have to grow as an instructor to be able to push that limit, but I was willing to go there. But see, this is the difference of where I think people who are 18 years old and have a fifth dan, blah, 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 we'll get into that later, and someone who's been aged and experienced, someone who has ideas and knows exactly that, there's certain things that you don't push. It's a maturity level that you have, and an understanding of instruction. So you just do what you can. And sometimes you might have to give them disappointing notice. No, you're never going to be an XMA guy. I'm sorry. Why? Because a lot of their stuff is not made for that. You're not going to be on Team Hyper, the Hyper team, which is just an extension of Extreme Martial Arts, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, and you have to suck that up and tell them, even though it's probably going to destroy them, it might crush them, but at the same time say, I can get you to a certain level though. I can teach you things though. I can teach you nunchuck skills. I can teach you how to do all the things that they can do here. But unfortunately you won't be able to do everything. But I can get you where you need to be. I can get you to certain areas. Trust me, I can get you there. So I think as far as wheelchair bound, I think there is a need for people who know how to teach the impairments of people who are impaired in different ways, not just wheelchair bound or anything like that, but you need to know how to do certain things. Are you a good enough instructor to do that? And are you a good enough person through martial arts to go out and dedicate your time and devote some volunteer time to do that kind of stuff? I don't know. I mean, that falls on the person. But this is where we come into people who are masters of the martial arts, or people who are masters of themselves, or people who are just casually going through life thinking that they're just tough. Well, I don't care about people who think they're tough. That's no problem. So I do believe that. So wheelchair-bound martial arts, I think there is a place for it. I do believe that, and I believe that because even if you think about people just being injured, you need to learn how to fight when you're injured. You need to learn how to suck this up and deal with what you've been given. How can you do this? How can you thrive if you are put into the chair? How can you thrive if you've lost your sight? How can you thrive? So I think there's a big demand for it, or there should be a bigger demand for instructors to learn how to do this. I'm not the one to be able to teach them, but I do know that there should be some emphasis on this, and I think people should learn how to do this. So Eric, I hope that answers your question. If not, you give me something a little more specific. I got another one from Clyde Surrett, and he's a teacher out and a friend of mine. He said, what do I think the sports training benefits are for the street application? So, sports training. Now, if you're talking about sports training in the aspect of like the physical training, like getting your cardio going, building up your strength, your endurance, your flexibility, just the training is like the drills and stuff. I think they're very applicable. I think those are things that everybody needs to be doing in their gym, even if they're just doing traditional martial arts. They need to be having an curriculum based for physical fitness, mainly because the fact that, and here's the reason why. And the reason why I say this, and I tell people this, and not every, some people believe in me, some people agree with me completely, and some people don't. And it's because they're like, you should be able to do it at any fitness level. You should be able to do this stuff, and it doesn't matter if you're a big guy, heavy set guy. It doesn't matter what shape you're in. You should be able to accomplish all those goals without any of that if you need to. And that's what I get a lot from people who are, looking at close quarters combat, self-defense systems, stuff like that. And it's because that's how they promote it. Yet he has a whole fitness. Here, let me talk about self-defense system. Damian Ross has a whole fitness thing in part of his curriculum in his modules. But says, this is good for anybody who can, even if you're out of shape. And I think people take that too far. People like to think of it as, well, I don't have to be in shape to be able to fight. And you're absolutely right. You don't have to be in shape to learn how to fight. You don't have to be in shape to get into a fight. Matter of fact, fights and violence, they don't care if you're in shape, out of shape, old, sick, young, male, female, brown, black, white, blue, green, yellow, red, polka dot. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. If you're a human being on this earth, you may have to deal with violence at one point in your life. So, and it doesn't care what color of the belt you are, if you're in a martial arts, if you're taking self-defense, if you're really good at your gun deployment or your knife deployment. If you don't know, you don't know. Plain and simple. And you're going to get hit. But anyways, the fact of the matter is the training aspect of it, in my opinion, is a great idea. And the reason why is because I believe you need to take your level to where you can handle the adrenaline dump. The adrenaline surge in your body makes your heart rate go faster and higher. Your breathing starts opening up. Say your body can't handle that, maybe you're so out of shape that if you have an adrenaline surge, you have a heart attack. You didn't really defend yourself very well, and it doesn't matter what system of martial arts that you learned or self-defense that you learned, you're on the ground. It doesn't matter. So you have to train smart, and you have to train to keep yourself in a balanced shape. You have to do something to keep yourself so your body can handle all this stuff. It's not just so you learn how to direct that surge, but it's also so your body could handle that surge, because not everybody can handle it. Why do you think in the military, they condition the junk out of their soldiers, out of the Marines, out of anybody out there? Why do you think they go through so much conditioning? Why do you think there's a prerequisite for military, law enforcement, federal agencies? I mean, why do you think that's there? Because if their body can't handle the stress that it's going to undergo, then they can't be in that spot, or they're going to be absolutely ineffective. That's what martial arts was made for military type fighting, okay? That's why you can even look it up. There was some form of just a hand-to-hand, but it was made to throw and restrain, to take a weapon away. That was the main purpose, to get them off balance on the floor so you can take their weapon, or you can deploy your secondary weapon or third weapon, whatever weapon you have, and attack. These are all, and almost all the hand techniques that we come up with come from the same things that we would do with a weapon. Believe it or not, if you want to look at it, you should really look at it in that sense. And it's because, when you're dealing with fighting in military arts or martial arts or military, sciences or martial science, whatever you want to look at it, it's all based on the fact that we're trying to get to our weapon. We're trying to survive, and that's through death, whatever. But our body needs to handle the stress. Okay, we need to be able to handle it. So it's all based into this. That's why there's physical requirements. That's why you're trying to build yourself into a physical. That's why you're trying to acquire these skills in the first place. You're trying to build yourself into something that can handle something in a fight. So yeah, I think the sport requirement, because trained athletes, they take themselves to a whole nother level. Um, they really do. They really push themselves to this very competitive level, and they push it and push it and push it, and that's why they are the top of their game athletically, and that's why they are really good at times. When it comes to that kind of stuff, and it's because you never know how long it's going to take you. That fight could take you, 3 seconds. The bell could ring, you walk in, you pop the guy in the head, and he drops. Or you might have to go 15 to 25 minutes and have to fight this guy. That sucks, but your conditioning has to be able to hold it. Same thing. Your conditioning is like you're almost at that point of the second to third round already by that time. You know what I mean? So you need that training, and I think it's very applicable. And I want to talk about and there's other training sports aspects, like I think pad drills, things like that. I think those are very applicable for street defense, for street application, things like that, because it helps you learn to target, move, get hit, things of that nature. Boxers, and even Kali guys, they learn to move, slip, dodge, bob and weave, get underneath things, move on the side. They learn to do that stuff, and that's very applicable and very needed. Okay, not a lot of people teach that. I mean, there's very few martial arts out there, very old school martial arts, that show, oh hey, move your head and your hand. But they do their footwork that way. Unfortunately, some of the people I see don't move it fluidly enough. There's some martial arts out there fantastic, and they've got the martial arts down. And the reason why they look so good while they're doing it, and why they are so effective while they're doing it, is because everything is very fluid. So I think drills are definitely needed. The same things you would do for sports are the same things are some things you are going to do for street application. There's some things that are not necessary. Stopping every 5 minutes. That to me is just a health thing. You don't want to destroy your people. But as far as sports training, as far as getting yourself into shape, drilling certain skill sets, yes, those are really, really important for street application. And I say that, and people can fault me for it, but I believe that's what's going to define you as a better fighter, even in the street, or even a survival situation, compared to a person who just thinks that they're good enough to be able to handle something and they get destroyed. That's just my opinion. And don't get me wrong, there's some guys that are really fantastic shape athletically for the sports side, but can't handle anything in the street because that's not their mindset is totally different, and that's another thing. It's all about mindset. Loyal to Law on YouTube, and his name is JM. Jay, he says, padding or no padding, like for Kali. He says it's a big debate in Kali and Arnese circles. Padding or no padding, he said he's heard it both ways. I saw the Dog Brothers. They do padding, light padding, like hockey gloves, fencing masks. That's it. That's the padding they have, and that's a Kali type tournament in my opinion, because they're using sticks, long staves, and even training knives and stuff like that, and they're jacking each other up with those. And that's the light padding they had, and the reason why is because they don't want someone getting brained in the head, because they're using live sticks. They're using training knives now, mind you, but they're metal training knives. And even if they're not, wood getting jabbed into you, that's gonna hurt like crazy. They're using live weaponry that are not, unless it's a blade, and then it's a training blade, but it's normally metal. So they don't want someone to go with a concussion and stuff like that. And people still get hurt. They still get injured in those tournaments. They just try to make sure that people take less injury as they're going. And then I've heard about tournaments with, they take a stick or a rod of some kind and pad it with styrofoam and like tap it up, and that's like that's your stick that you fight with. No pads, and that's what they do. They have that padded stick, but like there's like an iron bar or something like that underneath it, something that doesn't give basically if you hit, and they smack each other with that, and they do their disarms with all that, and I've seen that before for Kali, for no pads, but there's still a padding on the stick. I don't know. A part of me, because there's those safety sticks and stuff like that. I use safe sticks, those padded ones. I use them for the kids. That's what I used to do. That's what I would prefer to do, is use padded sticks for kids. Why? Because they're going to crank each other, man. They're like, ah, boom. I mean, if you've ever taught kids, you know what I'm talking about. They have some of these kids. You have to teach them a lot of control things, way more than you have to teach them. Hey, have fun, and So you do what you can. You do everything you possibly can, and for that situation. In the other aspect, though, in the part of should we have padding? Let's just go padding in general for all martial arts. I believe, when I started out, there was no padding. And if you did, you probably had these little ones that that just cover your hand, and I think they were less dense than even the MMA gloves. And you got it for the tops of your feet, and then you got the ones over your hands. And that was if you wanted to put on pads. The most guys I trained with, they didn't do that. Even in the schools I was in, man, if you got cranked with bare knuckles. So that happens. And do I think that padding's good? I think if you want to appeal to a larger group of people, padding's probably best. But if you're just training and your buddies and you don't care, that's between you guys. I always say put on gloves at least. Put on at least MMA style gloves. And have mouthpiece and stuff, because you don't want... I don't want that kind of full-on injury. But at the same token, I'm not padding my elbows and I hit people with elbows. I'm not padding my knees and I hit people with my knees. I don't pad my feet all the time, but I still kick them. And I don't pad my shins all the time, but I still kick them with them. And I don't. You can't pad the bottoms of your feet and the heel of your foot. I still kick people with that. I palm people in the head when we train. I don't palm that. To me, you should really learn massive control. That way you're not injuring your opponent, but you're still able to do everything you need to do. Okay? That's my opinion on it. Now, do you need pads if you don't want to jack each other up? I really believe that's on other people, though. But if you're like a commercial school, yes. Either that or you're never going to get people to come into your school unless they're really radical people, and that's not going to be very many people, because the vast majority of people aren't going to go to a school that people are walking out with bloody noses. I'm talking about the vast majority, not the people like some of the crazy people that I know that talk to me on Facebook and on here and stuff. People go, dude, it doesn't matter to me none. Let's do this. We'll go in the backyard and we'll roll it. That's fine, but that's fine for me, my friends. For people who are like us in like-mindedness, but that's not like a huge percentage of people. So I think it really just falls down to what you would think you should go for. You have a big school, and let's face it, in Philippines, because I think you were talking about how when you were in the Middle East, there's rules over there that don't. There's rules here that don't exist over there. So, as far as that's concerned, I've seen a lot more live stick training from Filipino guys, and the reason why is because of control. They learn control. They know how to smash through you, but at the same time, they know how to just hit you. Doesn't mean you ain't gonna have a bruise. You're gonna have a bruise, and it's gonna hurt like crazy. But he didn't break your limb. He could have broke your limb. So, and the reason why is because not everything over there is like highly that, like at that point, a pinnacle of like money wise. You can't just always afford all that stuff. So I really believe that it depends. I think if you really want to know what it feels like to get hit, use less padding. And go from body shots first, then to the face, and see if you can handle it. Have a headgear on first, and then take off the headgear and see if you can even handle the hit. Not everybody can handle a hit to the face, which I've seen over and over again. When I trained fighters, I had people come in and they couldn't handle a hit. They really couldn't. They'd get hit once in the head, and they'd be like, I'm done. And it's starting to make some of the guys I was training feel invincible. So I'd go out there without headgear and say, come on, bring it. Guy hit me in my face. I actually had a guy fracture my nose. Hit me in my face. I took it off and I hit him and I made him throw up. I kicked him so hard. And then I, drilled him and I tapped him out more than once. Before he even did that, I grabbed him, threw him on the ground, tapped him out. I got him up, punched him in his head 3 times, and he dropped back. And as he dropped back, put his hands on his knees, I kicked him in his head, and that's when he stood up and punched me in my nose and fractured my nose. And then when I kept coming after that, and I kicked him in his stomach, and he went down and doubled over, I said, well, if this is how hard you want to go, and this is how hard you want to fight everybody, then you better be expecting someone to go as hard as you. Now, he jacked up my nose, but at the same time, it didn't bother me none. It hurt a little bit, but I was like, whatever. Clean it up. It's fine. So that's all I have for the questions today, and some of the subject that we're talking about. I mean, we have all sorts of things I'm kind of rambling on about, and as part of is my opinion, efficiency of how people talk about martial arts and how people deal with martial arts in general. So this is great stuff. Keep bringing in the comments. I'm going to leave my Facebook thing. I'm going to leave all that stuff. Message me, comment, share this video, and like. And if you're new on this channel, subscribe. I'm seeing a lot more interest in this than I am anything else that I've been doing lately. Now, I don't know if I should be insulted or not, but at the same time, I'm just going to keep these coming out as best I can, and this will improve. There's going to be ways for me to improve this as well. I'm not like a technical savant, so there's like things that I'm going to be working with and seeing if I can start adding people that talk to, and so we can talk to them on here. The other ways did not work very well, so I'm going to see what I can do. What other ways I can go with this. But other than that, guys, keep on bringing in comments and keep on bringing in questions, because I love doing that this way more than anything else. So this is what I mean by chatting. So keep on hooking it up, and I'll talk to you guys later.